fishing, it's in my soul.
Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
Why the deceased don't want to come back. Hey everybody, Joe Simons, like diamonds, back again, Salt Strong Unchurched. Wow, this is a really, really powerful one about death. And here's the backstory. Last weekend, our family had COVID. At least half of us did. Somehow, Savannah and myself managed to avoid it. And I was trying to get it. When you have a family of 5, you don't really want to stagger it out. You kind of just want to get it all over with once someone gets it. So we were trying to get it, and meaning not changing up anything, still all eating together. Heck, I was drinking after my wife, just literally trying my best to get it, just so we can all knock it out, and I never got it. But anyhow, that meant that, we were at home for a 1 full weekend with nowhere really to go. And that included, not going to church or anything. And so we had a family weed picking day on Sunday and listened to church on a little Bose speaker, through my phone. And we ended up listening to a church that we used to attend back in Atlanta called 12 Stone. And I love the pastor there. I love the message is always great. Hits me at the right time. And I hadn't listened to it in a while. So hey, let's listen to old 12 Stone. And they at their church, a big church, are going through just a kind of a tough time with one of their top guys. Just died. And I'm talking like, in his 40s with young kids, left a wife behind. And you can only imagine the pain and the suffering and even the questions, right? And this was a healthy person that just kind of came out of the blue. And probably a lot of questions, right? And we've all lost loved ones, some of us more recent than others. Some of us, it's been wives, kids, parents, grandparents, regardless of who you are. If you're old enough to listen to this, you've certainly lost someone, and it's been tough. And it's in times like that where we can tend to lose a little bit of our faith. And here's what I mean. And this pastor, he just took it head on and didn't sugarcoat it. So I think that's the easiest thing to do is, hey, it's God's will. It's going to be okay. And he says, let me tell you about what happened to me when I lost my mom. He's like, for the longest time, I was right afterwards, after losing his mother, really, really struggled with it. And he's a pastor and just struggling with why and the timing of it. And just, he was having trouble just trusting God on that one, right? We all want to say, hey, it's on God's time. God's time is perfect. And then all of a sudden, someone you love, like your mom or your dad or your spouse or kids, are taken from you. And all of a sudden, you kind of change your tune, like, God, are you sure that was the right time? Couldn't you have waited a little bit longer? And he was, praying, just for somehow like his mom to come back. And he said all of a sudden he had this very vivid dream / vision that was very, very surreal. And it was his mom. And basically the mom just saying, son, I'm good. I don't want to come back. In fact, you couldn't pay me to come back to earth. I'm having the time of my life here. Come visit me when you can. And that was it. And all of a sudden, like this just relief came about him as he described it. And he's like, I understood it. And he's like, God has a purpose and she's exactly where she's supposed to be. And she doesn't want to come back and visit me. She said, you come visit me when your time is ready. Wow. Right. And he says that just, it changed his whole perspective on anything. He's like, I'm sitting here, on on earth as a human, hoping and praying for some miracle that my mom's going to come back to earth, and she doesn't even want to come back. She is she's in heaven, right? And so if we believe in a God and we believe in Jesus, we believe in a heaven, at some point we have to have the faith that, man, that is the ultimate place to be. And when someone gets there, they don't want to come back down to podunk earth. They want to stay up there and to watch what's happening down here, and probably to be part of our lives somehow spiritually. I don't know how all that stuff works, obviously, and probably won't until I make it up to the big house myself. But I don't know, just a really fascinating perspective. And so he shared that story, and then was basically, in this big sermon with 1,000+ people, was speaking to everyone, but really speaking to this wife of the gentleman who was a leader there at church who just passed away. And just said that same thing. He's like, I guarantee he does not want to come back right now, no matter how painful it is. And there's the kids. He is exactly where he's supposed to be. And I shared this a long time ago, but one of my friends here in Central Florida, they lost their child, and I'm not talking about just a miscarriage. This happened actually, in the room, like they were having their baby, and it, in the delivery process. So they didn't just make it like 7-8 months and have a premium, and they made it all the way. Everything was going fine. And the baby ended up, dying, essentially right before it was being delivered. Long story. And obviously there's some tons of complications. And you can just imagine, right? They've already had their baby showers. Everyone's excited. They're there. And that was tough. And they were both Christians, but that was the biggest struggle ever. And I can only imagine the disappointment and the pain and the confusion and not understanding. It's like, God, why would you get us this far only to not have our little beautiful baby girl make it? It doesn't make sense. And they really, really struggled with it. And it was his dad who had this just, like, wow, I get goosebumps, like thinking about crazy vision. And he woke up and obviously called his son, who was the one that lost the child, and shared it with him. And he's like, man, I got to share this with you. He goes, I just had the most clearest, wildest dream vision. And it was God saying, I needed her up here more than I needed her down there. Man, I get emotional on that because of kids, and I can feel my friend's pain, and I man, we both cried over it together. I mean, that's just so tough to lose a child like that, whether they're an hour old or 30 years old or 50 years old. And but in that wild, he's like, God literally sat there. He's like, I could hear everything. I could see the baby, and he's up, the girl's up there, and he's like, God said, I needed her up here more than I needed her down there. And that didn't just take away all the suffering. It's not like they just said, hey, we'll move on with our lives and everything's back to normal. But that one line, that God needed her up there more than he needed her down here, that was a very, very distinct, very vivid vision dream. That changed everything. That got them going back to church and believing again. I mean, they had for the most part just were kind of writing off God. They were angry. They were frustrated. They could not understand why a good God would let a baby, die in its first hour or so of life, at full term, right? When it should have been a healthy baby. It just, none of it made sense. And now they have this was a couple years ago. Now they do have a beautiful baby girl. And so we'll never know the whole reason why. This is part of faith, right? This is part of trusting. Sometimes we do find out why. Sometimes later we start realizing, oh, wow, like all of these things would have happened had that gone through. And with so many things in life, we've probably had that happen. I know I have so many times where I was disgruntled and not understanding why something happened. I wanted it to change, just like this pastor wanted to have his mom, come back down to earth. And there's so many times where there's an amazing God up there, just shaking his head, just like a parent would, saying, "You have no clue what's really going on in the big picture." I mean, he has a perfect plan. And when he does take away people or things or ideas or even dreams, it is for a purpose and it is for a reason. It took me a long time to understand that, but I do fully understand it now. I don't fully understand it. I understand it better now. And just looking back at my past, the things that I thought were the absolute worst things ever happening to me, now I can look back and say we're some of the best in terms of my growth and understanding and my faith. So just wanted to share that one with you. Especially if you have lost a loved one, we had a family member pass away this last 12 months, and it's just tough, and it's tough to understand why. And it was a younger person, and it really, really tough. And I don't know, that just helped me. I got emotional listening to that sermon while we were pulling weeds. It's like, wow, maybe we've been wrong. We're sitting here wishing they were back and can't understand why. And they're up there saying, I don't want to come back down there. I'm having the time of my life up here. This is beautiful. This is heaven, right? Heaven. That's why they call it heaven, right? We all want to go there. So I hope that helps someone, at least in a small bit, and just gives you a little bit different perspective on it. And if I can help out in any way, pray over you, or answer any questions, or even just hear your stories. I love hearing from you, the good, the bad, the ugly. It's at Joe, Joe, at saltstrong.com. And if I don't hear from you, then I hope to talk to you on the next episode. Love you guys. Chat soon.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul. It was passed down to me from the days of old. Find us on the water if there was a way. It's been said my papa, he wrote the book on catching big reds and 20-pound snook. I wish I knew all the things he knew today. For he's the reason why we are this way. And he put fishing in her soul.